also note that our IT director, Scott Charlotte, was with us. Our town manager, Robert Smith, is with us. The assistant to the town manager, Sharon Howe, is with us. And our finance director, I think I saw her online as well, Carrie Rowley, she's with us. So this meeting is basically a test to make sure that we can meet. I'm going to ask India to notice our meeting for Monday, where we will discuss how we're going to proceed with the budget hearings going forward. I know that there is some discussions on whether we're going to get presentations from the different departments, thank you, or if we're just going to go through the budget with what we have. So that's going to be discussed on Monday. We're also going to make sure that we look at how we're going to conduct meetings of the subcommittees. I think we were all very optimistic that we would have just lost March, but the way things are going, we're gonna the way things are going, we're gonna have to come up with our new normal so that we can still conduct the business of the town. So those will be the discussion items for Monday. Just quickly, I know that an email was sent out that we did have our first COVID-19 death here in the town of Bloomfield. We do have some positive cases in a couple of our nursing homes. They are being closely monitored by the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District. On Monday, we will be able to give a much wider update to the council unless there are questions, concerns right now.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I just have a question. Could we add to the agenda also for the boards and commissions? Because I know those meetings are not being conducted as well. So I think we have to figure out exactly how we move forward with those various committee meetings.
So we
I'm going to interrupt if I can.
Yes.
One of the legal requirements for this video meeting and any video meeting is for each speaker to identify themselves by name each and every time they speak. And the reason for that is not everyone can see photos. They may be listening on phone and people later on may not know faces.
So excellent. So thank you very much, Attorney Needleman. That's very helpful. And we will make note of that going forward.
And who just said that?
I'm sorry. This is Mayor Suzette DeBeetham Brown. Thank you very much, Attorney Needleman. We will make sure that we follow the rules going forward.
Excellent.
Are there any other questions or concerns on the line?
India Rogers, Clerk of Council speaking. What time for Monday?
Mayor Suzette DeBeetham Brown speaking. I would want to say, or I don't know if we, would it be a special meeting if we changed our time to 6 o'clock? And would that be okay with everyone, or does everyone want to keep it at the regular time of 7:30?
India Rogers speaking. Once again, this Monday is not a regularly scheduled council meeting. It was scheduled for a administrative education subcommittee meeting at 6:30. So this will be a special meeting altogether.
Okay, Suzette DeBeetham Brown speaking. Since it's going to be a special meeting altogether, can we agree to 6 o'clock? If everyone can unmute themselves and give their names and their responses, that would be great. Joseph
Merritt, and I like the idea of 6 o'clock, and I don't know how to mute myself anyway.
Councilwoman Danielle Wong at 6 o'clock is fine with me.
Councilman Kevin Goff, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock's fine.
Councilman Rickford Curtin, 6 o'clock is good with me.
And Di Lorenzo here, 6 is good with me.
Councilman Fran, 6 o'clock is good with me.
Okay, excellent. So Suzette DeBeetham Brown, our meeting will be Monday at 6 p.m.
Mark, Rickford Curtin, could we just say our last name, or do we have to say our full name?
Well, the law says you have to identify yourself. So best that you use your full name because there may be people who don't know who Rickford is.
So
As
would
unlikely
Rickford-
as that would be, I think that's the case. Mark Needleman's.
would Curtin suffice by any chance?
Sure.
Okay, so I will do that. Yeah, thanks.
DeBeetham Brown, any more questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, who has the, Merritt, who has the radio going that I hear?
Are you
Yeah,
hearing,
there's a lot of background noise.
you're
Yeah,
hearing a radio? DeBeetham Brown, you're hearing a radio?
Something. Audio.
Yeah.
something.
Goff, just as a comment to people, we were talking about this before everyone got on. What we have tonight is fine. When you get a lot of people, you start getting echo, and one way to avoid that is everyone to have earbuds or something, so that when you're talking, it doesn't feed back through the the audio reception. So that you can think about that for Monday.
Curtin speaking. That's a good point. I was researching that today because all the problems we've been having with our town committee meetings, and I did research it. And yes, if you wear your headpiece, you do avoid that echoing back and forth.
Mhm. Okay, so I'm gonna, DeBeetham Brown, Scott, are we good?
Yeah, I had prepared something. I don't know if you want to see it or not. It was meant to kind of go through, the aspects of the platform. If you guys are okay with the way it's working, then you don't have to see it. It was just going to be a presentation or a PowerPoint, but.
So sorry, DeBeetham Brown, I believe if you provided something for us to make this a better experience for the counselors, as well as those who might be joining in, and as well as those who might be seeing it later on our YouTube channel, I think it's absolutely wonderful for you to go ahead and present that to us.
Sure, it should only take a few minutes. It's just a PowerPoint, and then I'll make it available afterwards. But yes, it will be. So again, this is Scott Charlo, the IT director for the town. So, and plus it'll give you just being able to see the presentation. It should give you kind of a feel of some of the other features of the platform. So hopefully now you're seeing the PowerPoint presentation itself. Let me I can make sure, but you guys see that, right?
Yep, we can see the town hall.
So
Yeah.
the idea, okay, good. So this is just a graphic I made. It's a graphic that's now on our YouTube channel, and it's also part of the Zoom experience when people move through. I thought, if this was the next page is really. Hold on. So the next page is the Pledge of Allegiance here. As you can see there, you just, your normal rules of order, you would have that as part of your meeting. Virtual meeting rules, this is kind of going back to what Mark was sharing with his, I don't remember the other attorney's name, I'm sorry. But the council, you're still governed by Robert's Rules of Order, which you already know. Each speaker must state their name, which Mark already alluded to. Speaker shouldn't speak until called upon. One of the things that's evident just in this test meeting is I'm the host, so I can mute all and I can see who's in the meeting. Suzette, you should obviously be the host as well. So you can co-host the meetings. So that'll be something that we should be doing, is having the chair of the meeting being assigned a co-host. The meeting's still to be noticed. You already know that. And materials need to be accessible to the public 24 hours. Again, that was part of the legalese of the meetings. So the virtual meeting, the staff worked, obviously we worked quite a bit to make sure that the requirements of the virtual meeting as set forth by the Governor's Executive Order 7B were met. So we selected the Zoom webinar. Webinar is a separate feature of Zoom. It's an an added cost, but it gives all the bells and whistles here. One of the main features of the ZEP webinar is that it allows panelists, which obviously we all are panelists, and the public to have separate controls. So right now, any public attendee that comes in is actually muted by default. Those attendees can be promoted to panelists if you want them to present. Like if someone's coming in to give a PowerPoint presentation, the host of the meeting can make those attendees now panelists and be able to speak and do just anything else that you guys are able to. The Zoom platform also records, so this meeting's being recorded on Zoom, but it's also being recorded on YouTube. One of the nice things that the Zoom platform allows us to do is it transcribes the meeting as well. So at the end of this, about a half hour later, I get a text file that says Scott Charlo said blah, 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 Suzette DeVive Brown said blah, blah, blah. And it's all, it all has the tags that I set up originally with, you guys say Counselor Kevin Gao or Mayor Suzette Brown, it's all in there as part of that transcription. And the other nice thing about the transcription is that it closed captions the YouTube and closed captions the recording later on. So if someone is hearing impaired, that all goes along with it. So it's a nice additional option. We obviously have a call-in option. We have one caller on this meeting, and we're obviously streaming to YouTube. And attendees can ask questions through the chat window. The host can see those. At this point, I'm not sure if all of the panelists are able to see those question and answers. You may have a QA tab in the bottom, but you guys, that'll be helpful when you want to just take questions via text from people who are in the meeting. So that's something that can be looked at as well. This is a shot of our YouTube channel. So if someone comes in, you can see in the bottom here where it says live in 92 minutes. That is obviously, I took this screenshot 92 minutes ago. This is like the holding page. So if someone wanted to go there and wait, you can see one person was waiting when I took that, which is nice. You see that down on the bottom. So it's like that holding page. We can share out the link. The link up here, this URL will stay persistent with this particular meeting. So people, like I said, people can go and wait for it. We can send this out on our website that you can go to the YouTube, and this is where the feed's going to be. So that's set up. One of the things I wanted to talk about is the client. Zoom client is the client you actually install on your device. The user experience, as you guys, the panelists, is much better if you actually use the Zoom client. You can launch a client that goes directly through a website, but it really doesn't work as well. The Zoom client really gives you the best experience. So the other point about the Zoom client is to make sure the device is up to date, and the Zoom client itself is patched. Again, that goes back to some of the security concerns that I spoke about earlier. And obviously the Zoom client is available for all the different major platforms. To briefly also talk about a public attendee, the public can choose to register for the meeting. We sent out a registration ahead of time, and that allows them to come in and have a name so that we know who it is and we can promote them. We can have up to 100, with our current level, we can have up to 100 people in the meeting. And you can also, we opted to do a toll-free number so that folks didn't have to pay a long distance charge to dial in. So those are available as well. They can view the meeting on YouTube through live stream. The comment feature on YouTube Live is also turned off right now, but that's something that we can discuss if you want the public to be able to comment on the YouTube meeting. But right now, that's not. And obviously the staff, or that's us, will be uploading the video to that YouTube channel after the meeting's done. This is what the public registration looks like. So I have this little custom thing I created and the logo, and then you just put your name and address in there. Some of the considerations for public speaking, Zoom allows for the attendees to raise their hand. Again, that's something the host sees, and ask questions. The text, do you guys want to enable it, keep that moving forward? And how do you do that? These are just questions. It's not really open to discussion, I guess, because we can't, I don't know if you can conduct business, or I don't know if that's conducting business, but I'm not an attorney, so I'll leave that up. A host can answer the question via chat. You can all see or unmute it. And if you do have someone who you're promoting to speak, does the 3-minute rule apply? These are just kind of questions I had and with help there. And there are bad actors out there. I mentioned that, and I guess I didn't finish that thought, but that's just some other considerations for you guys. Voting, avoiding voice votes, because it is kind of tough. Roll call votes, make it clear as who is voting. And whenever you guys do like I'm not sure what you call it, but asking the chair to speak, the person who creates the motion and then the person who seconds it, to make sure those folks are called out by name, so that it's very clear who first and seconded. Speakers must announce their names, which we already talked about. And I don't know what you're going to do about executive sessions and recording, like if a video is being recorded. We're going to have to work out a procedure for executive sessions, if that's even applicable. But I just wanted to try to throw some things out there for you guys to consider. That's the end of my sort of PowerPoint. But those are just some thoughts, some things that we had talked about, between our own internal discussions. And again, I'll make this available, this PDF available, or the PowerPoint as a PDF available to and also the public.
Mayor Suzette, thank you so very much, Scott. This was helpful for us. Maybe some things for Attorney Needleman to think about as far as if executive sessions is applicable. I would suggest that we conduct our Zoom meetings the same way we would conduct an in-person meeting, and try to be as orderly as possible. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Joseph Barrett, I think this is working wonderfully.
Anyone else? Okay, so can I call for a motion to end the test meeting?
I'll second it.
I know, no, we need names.
Oh,
We need
By
names.
Curtin.
Merritt, second.
And can I have a roll call from the clerk of the council with the votes? India?
Votes for what?
Adjournment.
Adjournment. Everyone has to say their name with whatever their vote is.
Okay. So it's moved by, this is India Rogers, Clerk of Council, moved by Councilor Curtin, second by Councilor Merritt, to adjourn the meeting at 6:20.
Right, so now you have to take a roll call vote.
Roll call.
Merritt, aye.
Roll call votes.
Yes.
This is new.
Yes.
Just read the names off.
All right, so we have roll call vote. We have Councilor Goff,
Yes.
Councilor Curtin,
Yes.
Mayor Suzette DeBeatha Brown,
Yes.
Councilor Daniel Wong,
Yes.
Councilor Joe Merritt,
Aye.
Councilor Patrick DiLorenzo.
Aye.
Okay, India Rogers, Clerk of Council.
Wait a minute, where's Councilor Politis?
He not here.
He was.
I don't see him here.
He's logged on.
He was on, wasn't he?
He was.
He's not here.
Okay,
He
okay, I
tapped
just
out.
want-
He
okay,
tapped out.
okay.
Oh, hold on a
India
second.
Rogers, Clerk of Council, the motion passes. Adjourn the meeting at 6:20.
All right, guys, see you all on Monday.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. Thank you,
everyone.
Scott. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks,
Great
Scott.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Right.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it, Mark Needleman asking, do you send out a new invitation for each meeting?
Scott, I think so.
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
You want to be on each meeting, Mark?
Please.
He
Okay.
should.
Well, I mean, since he's at home,
With
All
with my
right.
feet up.
exactly. Exactly. All right, everyone. Have a good evening. Stay
You too.
safe.
Good night, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Good night, all.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right.
Well, that was fun.